Hi Aries, welcome to your end of November 2023 General Tarot Update. It's Rena here. Bring this back. And I'm going to pick an additional card. I'll pick an additional card. Okay. The reason, there's certain cards, it's not like, oh, I want to, choose which cards I end with. But in a sense I am, because some of the Swords cards relate to stress, anxiety, drama, conflict. And even if that is something that you are dealing with, and everyone is dealing with on some level, I don't want to end a reading like that, because I want there to feel like a resolution, not just like a state of being that is, problematic, because then you have this problem that you have to solve of how you're going to get out of that state. So that's why I chose additional cards. The heart of the matter is the Two of Cups, and this is a card of, for some people, commitment, and this for Aries can be definitely on your end if you struggle with the idea of commitment, because fire signs are very keyed into the idea of independence and freedom, and anything that threatens that can feel threatening as a decision to make. So even if you love someone, I could totally see how an Aries person would be a little bit leery of maybe committing fully to the relationship, because you're like, okay, what is this going to mean? Does this mean that I can never do anything by myself? I can never, have my own friends, or to have my own life within this other life. And some people would say, no, everything we do as a team and blah, blah, blah. So it is something to definitely think about. Especially if you are someone who is with a person who is very different from you. So keep that in mind as well. For other people, this could be reuniting with someone from your past. And that can happen a number of ways. I was going to say we're heading into the holiday season, but this is an American holiday that I'm recording on the eve of, which is Thanksgiving, and that kicks off the holiday season until the New Year in the United States. Other parts of the world, it might not be that way. But since most of the people watching this will probably be from the United States, you might meet somebody at Thanksgiving dinner that makes you question a commitment. Or if you go back to your hometown, it's like reuniting with that person that was your high school sweetheart, or the crush you had on your older brother's friend, that kind of thing. And another thing that the Two of Cups can be about is forgiveness. I have always kind of like challenged Scorpio people, and maybe even Taurus, because it's a fixed sign too, but especially Scorpio, about forgiveness issues. And I came to realize, and also about vengeance, about feeling like, hey, somebody deserves to have something happen to them because they did something bad to me. And I realized that Aries, just based on comments that I hear people make who are Aries, and just it kind of dawned on me that the Mars aspect of this could really be the vengeance, the warrior, kind of seeking retribution. So for Two of Cups and forgiveness, that might be something that some Aries people have to deal with if your heart has felt hardened for some reason. And the key is to know that forgiveness has nothing to do with the extent that you're dealing with that other person, because there are some people it's just too dangerous. I mean, sometimes it can even be a parent, but it's just too psychologically dangerous or whatever to deal with them very often. And you should never think that, that is what forgiveness means, but it means that you're not full of a lot of, it's that R word, resentment. That was what I was looking. I was going to say resistance, which is funny because I think that that energy is the same of resentment. It's like a resistance to move on. It doesn't mean that you forget. You can't unless do some mind control. You can't forget what happened to you, but you can choose to frame the situation in a different way. You don't have to badmouth the person. If somebody else brings up your ex, you don't have to, start on a diatribe about how effed up it was what they did to you. You can move on from things like that. In the past position, we have the Nine of Swords, and this is a card of anxiety. So something with the issue of commitment, forgiveness, or reuniting with someone has brought this issue of Two of Cups to you, Aries. One of the things I think that can happen is, let's take the scenario that you go to Thanksgiving dinner, you see somebody from your past that you had a crush on or that you actually dated, and they talk to you, and the way that they talk to you, it is so different than your partner talks to you. And that Nine of Swords can be the anxiety of knowing that something is wrong, in your primary relationship, and this other person is highlighting that by the contrast of how they act versus how the other person acts. Now, I wouldn't say, if any of you resonate with this, that does not mean that this other person is necessarily the one. That's a mistake that people make, where they're like, okay, I'm with this person, and now this person has got me thinking about, I'm not sure that my marriage is, a good one. So they think that the only alternative is to go to a new relationship, and that's not true. And even if you had an affair, you had some kind of, relationship with this new person, it might not last and it might not be the one for you. It's just a mirror or some kind of a sign that you can see how something is amiss, because Aries is a big picture sign, and sometimes the nuances may escape you, and you need that kind of, in your face reality check. So just keep that in mind, because you might, with Aries, there's always this kind of like sense of urgency. I have to do this, I have to do that. And sometimes that's the worst possible thing you can do, is act. Sometimes people need to act and they don't act. So that's why Aries can be very successful, because you do take action. But, not 100% of the time, obviously. And the higher message is the Page of Pentacles. And this is like a spiritual message, which means, to me, in this particular context, starting something on solid ground. Pentacles relate to the earth. The pages are, the beginning stages of something. Also, pages are communication. So it can be this idea of having grounded conversations with people. That means that you're not rushing into being with somebody before you really know them. You're really getting to know someone. And so that's what makes, you're just talking, and that makes it easier to discern whether somebody's right for you. So what crosses you is the Emperor. This is a card that is connected to your sign, and it shows that something about you may feel kind of haywire, may feel kind of out of control. The Emperor is under control and is getting their life under control. So maybe you're on the rebound with something. Maybe you are trying to make yourself feel better, and instead you're digging yourself in deeper. And another example of this too is like this idea of, the person who is going to get married and they have cold feet or that kind of thing. I was funny. The reason I was laughing is I saw this clip on YouTube. They were showing clips from Sex and the City, and they showed this clip where Carrie got stood up by Big, and it's such a intense scene. I mean, I was like, oh my gosh. And just this idea of like somebody doing that, but I guess it's better not to get married than to like do it under false pretenses. But he was such a weenie about it, just ghosting her like that, or whatever, semi-ghosting. So that's what it kind of made me think of that. But the thing is, you definitely have to listen to your heart. It's interesting. I think of the Emperor as Capricorn, not Aries, but Aries is supposed to be what it represents. And when I think of Capricorn, I think of this fellow cardinal sign of yours that is very by the book. And cardinal signs will attract to one another, even when they square off like that, because there's a physical attraction, but there can be this kind of, irritation or friction because of the signs squaring off and coming from different perspectives. And so if you're with someone who is like the Emperor, forget about, your connection to it, but it would be somebody who's very black and white in their thinking, who doesn't have that sense of live and let live. It's like everything has to be this, it has to be that. Then you may be walking into a bad situation for yourself. It might not be bad for somebody else who doesn't mind it, but Aries is very independent. And, having somebody who's controlling, it's bad enough for anybody, but for you, it's fighting words. It's like you do not want to be controlled, to say the least. So just keep that in mind, that being true to yourself is in all areas of life, including your love life, and making sure that you're really making the right decision if this is something that you're doing. What's coming in is the Five of Wands, and this is, I was going to say when I laid this card down, oh, this is your card, Aries. I mean, I don't know. Wands is fire, so I know that much. I don't know if this is actually connected to Aries in particular, but certainly that element of some kind of conflict, and it may involve multiple people. So you could be somehow upsetting the apple cart, and other people don't like it. Now, I don't think the average Aries person is going to go, oh my gosh, that's horrible, because you might be like, bring it on. But I'm just saying that there might be some kind of thing that happens in this last half of the month that kind of ruffles some feathers. And maybe this is why I got some cards that were not so warm and fuzzy. We have the outcome card, Eight of Swords. This is a feeling of being controlled by your own programming that is telling you that it's like self-limiting beliefs. Let's put it that way. So what are those things in your life? Maybe there are things that you need to realize are hurting you. Like an example would be if you just said, like, I'm going to marry someone, or I'm going to move in with someone, and or I'm going to have a child with someone, and that person isn't somebody that I really love. But I have not, until I met this person, I wasn't dating for 2 years. So who knows? What if it's 5 years next time? I have to, pick what's available. Like having that kind of fear-based thinking. And there's all kinds of programs that people have. And so I picked a clarification card, and I got, boy, that's really going to clarify things, right? But this is a card, the Three of Swords. It might be a card for you in particular of cutting something clean. So maybe this Two of Cups is indicative of a relationship that's back and forth, in and out. And that is really bothering you because you get caught up in it. It's like a cycle, and then it goes bad again. And someone has to kind of just cut it off. And that could be you if you know that it's not right. So I did end with this card, and this is always a good card to end with. The High Priestess, tuning into your higher self, not your lower desires or your lower mind, which is, the swords relate to your mind, but it can be your mundane mind that sees the limitations because of what has come before. Wisdom would tell you that you can never assume that something will stay the same because it happened before, because every moment is a new reality. And so being able to discern things comes from that higher state of consciousness. Otherwise, when we look at people's decisions, they say, what were you thinking? A lot of times they were thinking with a limited sense of consciousness. They were just thinking about that moment and what they wanted in that moment. And what they wanted may not have even been right for them. They may have said, I want to be in a relationship, when they actually needed more than anything to be by themselves and to learn about themselves. And so I say this to everyone, but even people but especially people who are air signs. I know you're a fire sign, but maybe some of you Aries people have the moon in like an air sign like Libra or Aquarius or Gemini, and you tend to be very analytical about your emotions. And I always say, you're a holistic being. It's not just your love life is separate from your other areas of life. And if you have this air energy, don't always believe everything that you think. Don't be so in love with your intellect that you think that you worship your thoughts. Your thoughts could be coming from a completely distorted place. They could be coming from past trauma that has taught you, and that's in air quotes, what life is all about, when that's not how life works. Life is not engraved in stone. People can come from horrendous backgrounds and still find love and trust and have children. And if they were abused, not abuse them. It doesn't have to be that way. So anyway, I once again, getting heavy about tarot reading on YouTube, but I hope that this resonated. If you would like a private reading, the link is below. Take care. Bye.